there are two articles here. We'll really only have time to read one today, but I brought them both because I thought they were fun. So everyone take one of each article and one of the highlighters, because we're going to be using that in our reading. Today, I'm going to start by putting a learning target on here. And this is the learning target for the 45-minute lesson, so we're not going to do the whole thing. But the key thing on here, I want you to focus on the word summarize, because that's going to be our target today, is to summarize. And we're not going to do the bulk, it's just going to be one. Now, I'm picturing this lesson as being part of a probability sequence where you've had some probability. We've been doing probability over the last few days. So, can anyone tell me what the word probability means in your own words?
Chances of something happening.
Very good. Anyone else? Anything to add? Another thing we had last week is, remember, we wrote this. Does anyone remember what that meant?
The probability of getting heads plus the probability of getting tails on a coin is equal to 1.
Very good. And remember, we did use this by itself in some of the problems. Does anyone remember what that was?
Probability of getting heads.
Uh-huh. Did we use a number with it, or did we just use it like that?
0.5.
0.5. Okay, so we're going to write that down. Very good. Now I want to come back over here to some of the students. I want to also look at some pictures, because we've got a couple students in the class that are still learning English. So I want to point out, we call these the head sides, where there's a head. And there were a few different tail sides, because they've changed the pennies. Those are all tails. That's the old kind right there, and we have a newer kind here, and there's a few odds and ends that look different. And last week, we started out, we were flipping a coin. Remember that? And we made it go up in the air, and it spun around. So this was a flip. I wanted to review that word. And we also called it a toss. But there are other things you can do with pennies, and that's what we're going to look at today. You can also spin them. And this would be a picture, you stand it on its edge and hold it with your finger and knock it. And we're going to call it the word is spin. And I wanted to make sure everyone understands what that is. If you give it a good hard spin, it's going to look like this. It's going to just look like a ball. You can't actually identify the penny. You just see this. So that's one thing that another thing you can do with pennies besides flipping it. And we're also going to talk about when you stand a penny on its edge, this is what we're talking about. So that was a pre-reading strategy of using these pictures. Now we're going to have some new vocabulary that I want to write up here. Before we dive in, I want people to tell me if they've heard these words before. Has anyone heard of, do we use the word biased?
Yeah.
Do you have an example in everyday language where we might use this word?
Fair games are biased for the fair people.
Okay. Fox News says they're fair and unbiased. Yeah. So that would mean they're not. Well, that's kind of I don't know how people feel about that, but that's one you hear that word. You hear these words. And what about model in probability? Did anyone have a thought about what that's going to mean?
Where you could show someone something?
That's very good. That's a good idea.
We can build something for.
Oh, we would build
represents that?
physical models. That's good. Sometimes I want to hint that when we come over here and we use this, we're actually calling that a model. So now, the next thing is we're gonna do the reading. So everybody, we're gonna take 4 minutes, but before you begin, we've got a specific strategy we're going to use. I want you to use that highlighter, and I want you to, if you come to something that looks interesting, I want you to highlight it. If you come to one of these words, I want you to highlight it, so we'll be ready to talk about those, and you'll know right where it is. And I think we're gonna read for about 4 minutes, and then we'll stop and talk to your partner about it.
Which article are we reading?
Oh, that's a very good question. Let's do the one that says penny bias. Is that what it's called? Okay.
The blue one.
The blue one, yes. I see a few people are done, so we're going to stop a little early because that wasn't full 4 minutes. But now I want everyone to take 30 seconds or so and turn to your partner and see what you thought the big ideas were in the paper and whether there was anything you found surprising.
At first, like, there was a part where spending a penny will land tails about 80% of the time. I figured the song might execute that way.
See, I took it as find out if it's starting with heads or tails first, and then call it, so that you can bias it more to your advantage. Yeah. I'm always trying to find like ways around it.
But I would take it 35.
It was mostly like heads, that would mean that the tails that was heavier, so that instead of
Right. So.
Okay, so now that we've read it, we're going to come back to these words. Does anybody have anything they want to add about what biased means now that they've read this paper?
Uneven?
Uneven, that's very good, yes. Really?
Favoring one outcome?
That's really good, I like that, very good.
I was going to say the probability is supposed to be 0.5, but it's not.
Very good, so this was a model, and it turns out that in some cases, it might not be the right model. We might have to choose another model. So that's a big thing. Now, did anybody have any thoughts about how you would check this article? Does it make sense? Is this something you're just going to take their word for it?
You could recreate the experiments that they did.
Very
by
good.
Spinning the pennies.
Okay, very good. Any other comments?
Well, being the math person that I am, I originally wondered how many times they did the penny thing, or where they hit